at one more last question from the future method angle. What could be the best practices that you would want to do for future method? Basically, you have to avoid adding large number of future methods in an asynchronous queue if possible, because the results could be unpredictable. Okay. Ensure that future methods execute as fast as possible. Test your future methods at scale using the start test and stop test so that you don't have performance issues. Consider using batch effects instead of future methods to process large number of records. If you want to process SOQL large number of methods, the ideal place to do it is in batch effects and not future method. So these are some last questions that I wanted to share with you on future methods. Now next we will move on to batch effects. The batch effects is now again the next most important topic where you could get questions. So where is batch effects used? It is used to process millions of records. Why do you use, the interviewer will ask you, why use batch effects versus normal effects if you want to work with? Why do we use that when we have normal effects? So the answer is, if you want to work with normal effects, it will run into the 50,000 SOQL governor limit error, right? So, but if you want to work with millions of records, then batch effects will help you overcome this limit. That is why you're going to use batch effects, and when you try to do like millions of records, okay? Because you'll use Database.querylocator, which will overcome which has a limit of which overcomes the limit of 50,000 and can query up to 5 million records, 50 million records. Okay. So where do you use this batch effects? What kind of scenarios? So generally the answer is data cleansing, large scale data cleansing of data, making mass updates or deleting or archiving. For these processes, you will use batch effects. So what are the batch effects implements? The batch effect implements an interface. Okay. So before that, we'll take a quick look at batch effects. So this is how it basically looks like. So they have three methods, and you also have an you'll say global database class implements batchable. Okay, so that is the first line that you'll have. It will implement the batchable interface, and it contains three methods. Just take a look here. The three methods are start, execute, and finish. Okay, I am not showing you the class name here. Here I am just showing you the methods. Okay, so these three methods are what we are going to talk about. So first it will implement the batchable interface, okay, and has three methods. So what is start? Start is where you create the query. What is start used for? It create the query. Start. Okay, what is execute method? Execute method is the method which breaks up the batches into batches. Okay. So whatever query the start is created, it passes the query result to execute method in a list called scope. See this, the start method will do the query, and it will return the query to the database locator. Now after the start, the execute, this start will pass this data to the whatever this returns to the execute method via this list. This list will take the data as object type of whatever query you are passing to the database query locator. Okay, and then finally you have the finish method. All right, so scope is the takes the object type of whatever is queried. It executes. It runs in batches of 200. Execute runs in batches of 200. How does it run? Now suppose you have 500 records. Okay, are returned by start. Suppose the query returns. So execute will divide it by 200 records, and each of this it will run in batches of 200. Suppose if you pass it 500, so it will break it up into the execute will run. One will run with 200, second will 200. So and the third batch will contain 100. Okay. So basically it will run in batches of 200. If you send it 1000 records, it will break it up by 200 and run 5 different batches. So that is how it will run. And each of this execute batch will run in asynchronously. Finish runs after all the execute batches are processed. Used for post processing like send email, you can chain batch jobs, and you can call another batch jobs. That is called chaining of batch jobs. So what is execute method and how does it bypass governor limit? Execute runs in batches of 200. Okay, so what it does is whenever you get a record, a list of records in the query, it will divide it into 200 batch, 200 batches, 200 records per batch. Okay, and it will run asynchronously. The initial query locator is what actually database.querylocator helps you overcome this governor limit. It helps you. It can return up to 50 million records. So this is why the 50,000 SQL limit is overcome. Okay, so that is why we use batch effects. Now here is an example of the batch apex if you're asked to write. So you'll have to put it inside a class which implements database.batchable.